Folks, it's John Nizman from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you an update. This is the 1950 Ford F47 pickup truck, half-ton, and we've been sharing with you a lot of the different stages on the restoration of this truck. In our previous video, we shared with you where we had the cab media blasted both underneath the floor, the inside, and the dash, and all the components that we didn't sand by hand. That were safe to use the sandblasting on. And then we shared with you where the rusted areas were and where we had some flaws or imperfections. So now we're going to update with you. So the cab corners, if you can remember in our previous video, we had some openings and some gaps and some damage to the bottom of the cab corner. Now that's the cab corner on the driver's side. And then we come over to the passenger side, and we've done a little more work on here where this was split open and it was cracked here, and there's quite a few gaps. So we've repaired that, welded them all closed, ground them all smooth, so now it's all sealed the way it should be. So that section's ready for the two-part epoxy to seal or bond the steel. Now we come to the side, we've done quite a bit of work to both cowl areas, and you'll recall they were really rusty too. So there is some incorrect patching that was done. So what we've done is we've cut all the rusted areas out. This is a replacement panel that is correct for this 1950 truck. So we dry fitted and modified it to fit correctly. You can see the seam that comes along here is nice and smooth. If we hold a straight edge on it, you'll know that that is a perfectly straight line to match the factory cowl section. And then you'll see here we've done exactly the way the factory would have done it, where there were spot welds welded in, and we've done the same number of spot welds as the factory did. And then there was more corrosion and damage up further on the cowl than what the patch panel does. So then we removed the rotted out section, made our own piece, which is the same thickness, welded it in, and ground it smooth. So now this whole section or area, which is the driver's side cowl, will be ready. Once we sand this shipping primer off, then this will be ready for the two-part epoxy also to seal it. And then I'll just rotate for our camera person, I'll rotate the cab. This is one of our handy dollies that we make here, or made for cabs. And then you can see on this side. So the same kind of idea. This had more damage and more corrosion. So this is the passenger side front cowl. Obviously the hood section is here, and then the fender gets bolted on. So this is the replacement panel. Same idea as the driver's side. You can see the edge is really nice and straight. We've welded that all solid. Same section here where we've welded it in, but the damage and the corrosion and the improper repairs previously, we cut all of that out. So it comes across here, all the way across, in through here. So we removed all of the, I don't know, I guess you call it cobbled up pieces or patches. So they're all gone, and we've done one piece to make that all correct. And then you'll notice all the welds have been ground smooth. So it will take very little body smoother to get this to be correct. And then same thing as the driver's side. We've done the exact correct number of spot welds as the factory did. Excuse me. So now we have those sections correct. The other thing I neglected to mention on the underneath of the floor, where the floor meets the firewall, we had some gaps and some openings. So we flattened them out with a hammer and dolly, and we welded. Pardon me. We welded those closed to the factory spot welds, and the same thing here. We had a split and it was bent, and we welded that shut. So now we have all of the seams correctly done. It only leaves one other problem or rusted area on this cowl, and we'll just turn the cab this way. Pardon me. So where the windshield meets this front cowl, we mentioned in an earlier video, when we were sanding or stripping down all of the paint and the body filler, we noticed there is an enormous amount of body filler basically from here on the post and all the way around, and then it was a bunch of body filler in here, and you can still see the remnants of it. But there's a bunch of holes. There's that green stuff. I think the camera can probably pick it up. That's like a mini fiber body filler, and it's actually just plugged in all of the pinholes. So I think the camera can pick it up. Those are all holes that are rusted through, and then you can see all of the heavy rust in this area, and that had all bled through when the windshield seal, if you remember in previous videos. So what we're going to do takes quite a bit of talent, if you don't mind me saying. So basically what we do is we make a replacement piece, because no one manufactures this kind of thing. So we use our shrinker and stretcher, and we take a piece of sheet steel, the correct thickness, and then what we do is we just hold it up to there. So we shape it to make it fit that section or that area. And then what we'll do is we'll end up marking it, and then we will cut out all of that rotted out part. So all of the stuff that's going to be a trouble later on is gone, and then we weld this new piece in to this side. We'll grind it smooth, and then we don't have any issues, because that is a notorious area for rust and bubbling over time. So we can't leave that the way it is. Pardon me. And then we come over to the passenger side of the cowl. I'll just remove this piece, and you can see this side is much worse in overall condition. So you can see we literally have holes all the way through. And if we were to remove all of this greenish colored body filler, that's they call a mini fiber. If we removed all of that, this is what you're going to see. So the only thing that's sealing this whole section is this body filler, because everything is pinholed like this all the way through. So once again, we're going to cut all this out. We've made another piece, once again the same thickness as it should be, and we used our shrinker stretcher to get that correct. So then it'll end up, we'll cut the old piece out. This will get welded in, we'll grind everything smooth, and then once again that'll be done correct. So these are the last two sections of fabrication that are required. It's frustrating for us when we see this kind of thing. It's just attention to detail, but we want this truck to last a really long time for our client, especially if he hands it down to the next generation and his family. It's something you want to be proud of, and just to put body filler in areas like that, in my opinion, just it drives me kind of crazy. So we'll have the new metal in there. Once all the fabrication is done, then we're going to apply a black two-part epoxy, and that's going to seal both the inside and outside of this 1950 Ford F47 pickup. So I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.